Today, we're having our marriage panel with all these wonderful couples, inshallah. They're going to give us some wisdom here. And as we know, we always go over through just like some of the little rules or whatever. So we just always give our guest speakers, which are you guys, respect, let you finish. And then at the end, we're going to have questions for you, inshallah. And we just try to be kind, courteous, and respect everybody else's opinions and thoughts. And then we are recording. I don't think we're going live right now because we had some, again, technical difficulties. But if that's a problem, just let us know at the end and we'll share it specifically and we can discuss. But
Waiting for Asa.
yes, so the schedule is we're going to get started. Then it will break for Usr, which is about 6:30, right?
Yes.
And then we'll have like a light refreshment and we'll get back started again. And hopefully for that second part is when we're going to open questions to the audience. But we may get through all the questions that have already been written down and we might get extra. So we'll see how everything plays out on that. And I just want to let the panel know we do a lot of times actually have people coming in a little late. So you just got to roll with it. So shouldn't be a problem, but just so you know, if you get asked a question and somebody repeats, it happens. So thank you so much for coming, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Chris is going to be our host for today.
Is the mic on?
Yeah. This is not working. There you go. I can hear it. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay. It takes a minute sometimes.
There you go.
Pardon me while we work out our technical difficulties. I think that's okay. Is that good? Everybody
Yeah.
hear me okay? Okay. Thank you so much for coming to our second part series. Last month we gathered together and we had a talk that was led by Shaz Abdurrahman about pretty much the basics of the rights and responsibilities of marriage for Muslim couples. And today we wanted to just kind of expand on that so that we can talk to people about their actual experiences, which I think is sometimes just as helpful as having someone talk about the subject, is just to get experiences, share insights with other people. So thank you so much for coming. We're so excited. It will be fun. We're going to start by a little game show for the day, just as an icebreaker so that everybody can meet our panelists. I'm just going to kind of go down the line, and then we're gonna play the newlywed game. I don't know if anybody knows what the newlywed game is, but I'm going to ask questions, and if the couples will write their answer on the whiteboard and kind of keep it hidden from your spouse, and then we'll reveal the answers. And then whoever gets the most answers right at the end will win a prize. But the questions we're going to ask kind of goes in with the rest of the meeting also. So it will be just kind of a nice icebreaker and kind of giving us some little insight into your world too. So
I can keep the score.
oh, thank you. The first couple on our panelist today. First couple on our panelist today is Zainab Ben Horn Ali and Abdullah Ali. Abdullah Ali. And how long have you been married? Oh wait.
Don't say it out loud.
Don't say it out loud. Write it down. Yeah. Everybody write down your question. How long have you been married?
How many years have you been married?
Oh my gosh.
It just seems yeah.
Everyone ready? You ready? Okay, you can reveal your answers. Let's see who knows how long they've been married.
32. Good.
32. 2.5. Okay. 17 years. And how long have you been married? 43.
Wow. All got it right. Good job.
I got it right. The next couple on our panelist is Sister Jamila and her husband, Lucia Bassett Al-Bashir. Bassett, Al-Bassett, okay. The question for the whole panelist is, who's the first to apologize after an argument? You ready? Okay, Abdullah, or everybody turn your answers around and we'll see if they match up. Oh. Okay, so we got
We have
one.
two me's.
You're the first one to apologize? Okay. I thought this was going to be a really good question to ask. Our next couple on the panel today is Sister Zainab Ziegler and her husband Mozum Shazad. And so we do have two Zainabs on the panel. So I will refer to Zainab Z for you. Because that'll be an easy way. We have like specific questions. Okay, so the next question for the panel is, who's the better gift giver? Ready? Okay, reveal your answers, please. Zainab. Oh, wow. Oh, no. So,
Because I tell you what to give me.
those two Zainabs. Two Zainabs, okay. Alrighty, and then the last couple are on our panel for today is, do you go by Evelyn more or Saba?
And in the Muslim community, I go by Saba.
Saba. So we have Sister Saba and her husband, Muhammad, and the next question for the group is, what is your spouse's biggest pet peeve? Does that make sense? Like, what is something that is something that irritates your spouse really bad? What don't? It can be very little. And I have a tiebreaker just in case.
Well, we have
Clear winner right now. Okay.
This one may not match because we're saying the spouse is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to put what your spouse is gonna say and then put what you're gonna say, so that way we'll know if they match.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
Otherwise, we won't know.
So you wrote, you wrote what bothers me, have that down, that you can come back.
Everything I pray, right?
What bothers me.
So like everything.
That bothers me.
Are we ready? No? Okay. This one I think we'll go couple by couple.
Yeah.
We'll start on the end down here with the something. Pretty nice. Oh, that's so typical.
I can relate.
Done it.
His snoring and turning the AC up. That's so typical. All right, Zane Z. And we're, you're still working? Okay. Gosh, that's a lot of writing.
We didn't know what kind of
Okay, Martin, if you'll go ahead and we'll start with yours again. That you don't hear him out and don't listen. Okay.
No,
Don't listen to respond. Okay. That's pretty typical. Foolishness. Wasting people's time. Those are pretty typical responses. Sister Zainab and Abdullah, what did you put for your responses?
Okay, Abdullah gets irritated because I don't put tools and stuff back in the.
That's old. Yeah.
And I get irritated at him, so many different.
Yeah.
But I'll just say, like, not putting his clothes back where they go.
Okay. And what did you say?
Nothing.
Nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Smart man. Smart man. Abdullah. Do we need to turn the mic on so that when we get started, we can pass it?
I thought it was on.
I mean, I don't know if like everybody.
Yeah, maybe.
That one's on. Can you just snap that?
That's fine.
It's on, okay,
Okay.
okay, great.
Okay.
Okay,
Most of
so-
them have still
Okay.
I
Yes.
put for him, people cherishing dogs more than like their own family members.
Sure, that's
And then I put, like he put for me, I don't know, everything, depends on the day, but actually, him not responding when I like call his name or tell him to do something.
Okay.
Yeah, so being quiet in an argument, so she gets mad, and I get frustrated when she buys a lot of groceries.
So good. So the winner was, so we have a winner. So your prize, so today, everybody gets a gift, everybody on the panel that comes gets a gift, but the prize for the game is you get to choose the gift first. So, Zainab, if you'll kind of go back and look through the gifts. And those, and you guys can go flip
Well,
through them.
actually, the tag is on the outside. You have to pick by the tag.
The pick by the tag.
Well, now I gotta water my
Oh,
child.
come here. So while they're doing that, I'll just say that when we go into our next portion of the meeting, I'll be asking certain questions, and inshallah, we'll go down the line and ask for everybody's response. And if a panelist has already answered something that is similar to what you said, please feel free to just agree and say, I don't really have anything else to add to that, or you can pass if you want to answer a question, perfectly fine too. If one of our panelists makes a comment that you would like to respond to or ask a question to, please make a mental note of it. And for the second part, we'll have an opportunity for everyone to answer their questions. So for this portion, we'll be going back and forth just from myself as the moderator and the panelists. We will take a break for officer and refreshment, and then we'll have the rest of the time for everyone to ask as many questions as we can, inshallah. So, number one of our question for today is, what role has Islam played in your marriage? And we'll start down here on this end. So if you'll each take a moment to just talk about how Islam has played a role in your marriage.
Well, it really solves so many problems that can exist, because whenever there is any problem, just see what Allah and the Prophet said about it, and Allah, both of us will agree on it, and this will solve the problem very easily. Things that are not Islamic, of course, both of us can reject it, and we'll just get rid of it.
I would, well, of course, I would sort of say the same thing, but, you know, it's all going to depend, too, on what's the person's Islamic orientation. You know, so I think when choosing a spouse, it's not often easy to get to know that about a person, especially in intercultural relationships. But, you know, because when we say that Allah is the arbitrator, and that's really the best safeguard for any sister in a marriage, is that Islam is going to be what really rules. But what is the husband's idea of what Islam says about something? That's also going to also be up, a little bit up and down. So, but it's really your arbiter of your life together. So, thank you.
For us, for us is our foundation. That's what we go back to. That's what keeps us balanced. Because you're not gonna agree on everything. You won't see eye to eye on everything, but Islam is our foundation.
We've been tremendously blessed with the Deen of Islam. We have a frame of
Can you
reference.
speak up a little bit?
We're tremendously blessed. We're tremendously blessed. Alhamdulillah. To have Islam, we're tremendously blessed. As a community, to have Islam as our way of life. We have a frame of reference. Anytime any situation occurs within the household, because there will always be difficulties in marriage. We have a frame of reference. Unlike some of the other communities, there is a difficulty in solving situations. So with Islam, we have something to come back to when stuff goes awry. So the pillar of our life, you know, and it keeps the marriage together.
For me, I think, especially having the rights of husbands and wife, that itself clarifies a lot of like role, like what role should husband play and what role should wife play. So I think that itself clarifies a lot.
I agree with you.
I don't think there's a lot to add, but I do think that it's important that Islam, that we recognize that Islam gives us very good examples of relationships. I mean, Muhammad, peace be upon him, his sister Khadija, and his other wives that he took. I mean, you can just follow the stories and the examples of that, and then that helps you to resolve a lot of issues.
Definitely, Islam played a major role in our relationship. Says that marriage is like spouse is like your fabric, what you wear to protect you at the same time, not just protecting means of hot, cold, but also protecting you from, shielding you from other things. So the spouse being as fabric for you is something very important to think about, because in your lifetime you're going to have, you are covering for each other, you're trying to make sure that both of them are, one is uplifting another person, so it's very important. And definitely Islam is the major part of our lives.
I don't think I could think of anything better to add to all of them. Pretty, all really profound things to say. Alhamdulillah, we have guidelines that we talk about and go to. So this is kind of a follow-up to this, and it goes a little bit along with what Lady. Oh, yes. This goes along a little bit with what Zainab Horn Ali was saying about how you view, how you practice Islam. So this question is, how important do you think it is to follow the same madhab as your spouse? For anyone who may follow some aspects of Islam a little differently in your marriage, can you agree to disagree, or does this cause some challenges? We'll start on this side. Sure. The question is, how important do you think it is to follow the same madhab as your spouse? And if you don't follow the same madhab, does that create some challenges?
Well, in our case, because it's Islam and she basically adopted to what I was practicing, so it was much easier in our case because, and not only that, I think both towards Madhabi, both considered towards following the main Islam, because when you go into nitty-gritty of things, timings, how you pray, and how, those are the minor things. You need to concentrate on major things. That's what I always, advise to anybody who's a new Muslim. Just don't go into, madhab. Try to be more towards what the hadith and sunnah and what Quran says. Try to concentrate on those first. The other things come later on.
Yeah, exactly what you said is that you learned in Islam, and being associated with him, it was very easy for me to pick up on Muhammad, and I mean, that's pretty much what we lived our lives by.
We don't particularly follow one school of thought. We kind of might align with one more than the other, but we are kind of still at that stage of figuring out as a married couple what we are going to follow. So kind of like based on situational things, like we read up and we educate ourselves and we make a decision like based on the situation.
So let me follow up with that with you then. As a convert and you're supposed to be a Muslim, are there those situations that you have to try to compromise on sometimes? Or have you been able to?
We've been able to compromise on everything.
I mean, we really look, as long as it's not like violating the core principles of Islam,
particularly have okay.
Story of our life, sorry. Story of our life.
Yeah, we don't particularly have any like disagreements in our home that would result in us having to drill down particularly that. Although God followers although that have it doesn't get that technical in my house.
Fortunately for me, my husband has been my teacher. I was blessed that my husband was able to give me Shahada on June 29th of 2007, and then we were married July 14th of 2007. So my husband has been my teacher, and then, it's beautiful because sometimes the student becomes the teacher when they have a zeal to learn and they learn something that they can share with their spouse. So that's what it's been like for us and our house.
So I'm kind of the same. I know when I met and married Abdullah, neither of us, as far as the school of thought, he would say he's Ahl Sunnah, that he follows the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and is not really a subscriber to worry about that particular school of thought. Myself, he also has been a lifelong teacher for me, as far as he has good Islamic knowledge, and whatever I've asked for him to research for me, he has. But I always know that he's researching within primary sources of Islam. And I have always functioned off the verse of Quran that, that Allah, in Quran it says, Allah said, "This day I have completed for you your religion." Everything was there. There was nothing to be added. And I know sometimes certain circumstances may make something look a little different, but if you can't find it in Muslim or Bukhari, then it's something probably to be challenging to find. And we've always functioned off of that, and he never has minded me questioning him and doubting, not doubting, but Allah wants you to find the answer. So there's nothing wrong with you having a search until you feel satisfied. I do accept that Islam is perfect, and so when he has worked with me over resolving different issues, it's really among the sources of primary Ahl-Sunnah.
Really, my madhab is the madhab of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the madhab of my wife also is the madhab of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Muslim scholars, the four madhab that are known, came about 100 years after the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So what they did is just each one of them got some resources and built his way of life, Islam way of life, according to what he knew. And the other one maybe got different resources from the same Prophet ﷺ. All of them are correct, and he preferred some ways different than from the first one, but both of them are correct. And all of them are the same thing. Both of them, everybody, four scholars, they are followers of Muhammad ﷺ, but each one of them preferred something over the other. And because really I got my Islamic knowledge, the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, so I have this kind of flexibility that sometimes by things I fall from this method or from this method, it is not wrong to find something that you feel as long as it was with the Sunnah of the Prophet and what he left from his traditions and from his workings and from his approvals and from his comments and things. As long as they are have reliable sources, so it is a good way of life, and you shouldn't be just adamant about one kind of school of thought, because all of them are correct. And each one of the Muslim scholars, the four Muslim scholars says, with the hadith of the Prophet is correct, it is my mazhab. So no matter what I said or what I wrote in my books, this is what I believe. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair to all of you for being teachers to each other and inspirations to each other. So next, coincidentally, each person on the panel, at least one of them is a convert, and we didn't even really intend to choose our panelists based on that being any kind of criteria. This was a complete coincidence. But for the people on the panel that are Muslim converts, I know that word is kind of tricky for some people sometimes, but in our, in the Convert Compass realm, we just use the word convert. So, to the converts on the panel, how do you think being married as a Muslim is different than what it may have been like being married as a non-Muslim? Start with you, please.
So I guess I have the fortune or misfortune of having been married before Islam in the first marriage. So and probably the main thing I would go back to is that you have no basis for justice in your marriage without Islam. It's all just like, very arbitrary, what somebody likes, what somebody doesn't like, what society puts in front of you to dangle things, and, you have no justice. So in Islam, that's what I felt I gained most of everything, is that I know what establishes justice between us is Islam.
Oh my. No, don't touch me. No. So I also was married prior to Islam, and for me, I tell people that the first marriage was dress rehearsal, and this marriage is my true marriage, because I prayed for my husband. I prayed in the sense that I asked the Lord, I said, the next man in my life will love you as much as I do, if not more. And I don't know how he's going to love you more than I do, because I love you. But I just say to you all that my husband loves a lot more than he loves me. And that's beautiful. I said the next man in my life would pray for me and pray with me and teach me how to pray. And Lord, I don't know how he's going to teach me how to pray because I call for him. Well, I can say that my husband prays for me, he prays with me, and he taught me how to pray in Islam. So I wasn't specific on how he would teach me how to pray. So I was tremendously blessed that he gave me all that I asked for. So this is my true husband, and the other was dress rehearsal.
Sorry, I moved out of my thoughts in order.
Oh, Zainab? Yeah. We skipped over. Oh, brother.
I didn't know, I'm sorry.
He's a cover house.
I think like something people say marriages fail. So, I mean, and I think the number is close in Islam too. But I think that Islam gives us, back to the original question, the first question, Islam gives us a foundation. I wasn't married prior, this is my first marriage, so I wasn't married prior to marrying my wife. But I can see how this is for other outside of the faith, just imagine a relationship of difficulties they can have with trying to navigate that in society. I can see how that would be difficult. Islam, it really clears the path for justice in marriage.
Okay, Ms. Mankey.
For me, it changes everything. It changes how you go about finding your spouse, about getting married to your spouse. You know, the biggest thing that I can think of is the rights as a woman that I would not receive if I married somebody outside of Islam. It just sets all the expectations clear, so you know what to expect from your spouse. So it is, you know, like everyone else said prior, you know, it is the foundation of marriage. It changes pretty much everything. There you go.
I just feel very fortunate that Islam led me to the right spouse, and that I haven't had to experience any other relationship other than what I've had. So, I guess, I mean, I just can't imagine not having had the guidance, the rights, the you know, praying together, praying for each other. So I feel very, very fortunate.
So for the 4 Muslims on the panel, then how has being married to a convert different than what you think might have been married to a born Muslim? How do you think that may have been? Or do you think it would have been any different?
Well, really, I was born as a Muslim, and I was raised as a Muslim, and I try to practice Islam as much as I can to just reflect what Islam is in my life and for others. And my wife was born as Muslim, and she was raised as a Catholic, and she is better than me because she selected Islam by third research, and she found that Islam is her choice, and she left her background and her religion and whatever she had before and accepted Islam. So she is much better than me. Of course, maybe I have more knowledge than her about Islam, but she is still the faith and the confidence that she selected the right religion is something that is really I appreciate very much. Really, before I married, I was married to an Egyptian lady. She was not only Muslim, she was also in our neighborhood. She was in our neighborhood in Egypt. And between our home and the home was just about 500 feet or something. And really, my life was very, very, very difficult for her, especially when it comes to raising children. She doesn't refer to Islam in her actions in her life and dealing with problems. And a lot of differences happen between us in terms of social gatherings, social dress, social relationship with others, the way she talks, the way she tries to raise the children. I couldn't relate it. I could not. The problem increased by the past few days, and I continued having this marriage, the past marriage, for about 15, 16 years. Until I have 2 children, they became young adults, and of course, it became impossible, especially after I came to the United States. And the differences became so wide that she liked to live like American ladies, and this is not my way of life, this is not that I appreciate, and everything gets harder, especially with raising the children. So the only solution, as the Prophet said, the last thing that the person will get is to, al-kay is the hardest thing to do to relieve the pain by burning part of the body or something. So that was very difficult for me to have to do, just accept that it was the only solution just to live the life that I want to live and take care of my children the way I like, and just to continue my life after this as a Muslim without these kind of tensions between me and her. So I got married, Zainab, alhamdulillah. A lot of problems that was existing in the first marriage did not exist at all in our marriage. And then, alhamdulillah, we are being married now for about 43 years. And this is this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It sounds like you have two very different experiences.
Yes.
I honestly think about it as a relearning opportunity. Like as a born Muslim, I mean, I knew like how to pray or like other things, but like when we met, like so it was kind of like although she knew a lot of things, but like even in like our day-to-day life, we talk about like things Islamically. So it also gives me an opportunity to relearn about like things in Islam.
That's interesting insight. Thank you.
I think being married to convert or revert, I should say, is a little bit different for me in a way that, you know, when you marry to within your own culture, you know, you already take a lot of things for granted. You say, okay, you love the thing you do, and you end up mixing culture with religion. In my case, because I'm married to somebody different, and she would challenge me, is it culture or is it the religion? So actually it helped me in that way, in this process, that hey, I need to be thinking in a religious, not mixing culture with religion. But unfortunately, a lot of us from my generation or my same background do that because they think that this is the right way to do it, right to do it, not necessarily looking at the religious perspective. So it has been, I think that was a change for me. It challenged me to keep it on the right side of Islam.
We'll start with you again for the next one, if you don't mind. The next question is, do you think there are challenges being a married Muslim couple living in a non-Muslim country?
Definitely. I mean, there are a lot of challenges because, I mean, you can control your household, you can control which school they can go, but when they are at a certain age, I'm talking about our kids, I mean, you can control yourself, right? But at the same level, you're living in a non-Muslim society where definitely at a certain age, at some extent, you're gonna get influenced if you're not following Islam or not connecting to the Muslim community, not keeping yourself busy with the Muslim events and trying to be on the right path and keep studying, be inclusive, trying to be part of the religion. If you're not, it's a portion of it. So because it's a lot of influences from the non-Muslims when they go up to from high school to colleges to the universities and then workplaces. So unless you are committed, you have a good company of Muslims, you have a good company of friends and family who are supporting you all the way through, it's difficult in this any non-Muslim country to continue. I would say it's a jihad. It's a struggle of being in a non-Muslim country and practicing your own religion.
I agree with that, but there's also the aspect of being in a Muslim country, and I know the times that we've gone back to Pakistan when they've started celebrating certain things or decorating, in areas. It's really hard to tell your children that, at least when you saw things like that in a non-Muslim country, you could say, well, this is not a Muslim country, but, they're not going to, they're going to do their, practice their, religious, holidays and things like that. But when you're in a Muslim country and you're seeing seeing things like trick-or-treating coming over there, or, malls being decorated for Christmas and things like that in a very high Muslim concentrated area, it's hard to come back to your children and say, well, how do you justify that? So, I mean, it kind of has, a balance on both sides.
I think for me, probably one of the biggest challenges for our marriage is living out of a Muslim country. It's not a given that, especially if you're marrying a convert, that their family is going to be Muslim. And so I think navigating through that and also raising children, knowing that like my family are, non-believers and his family is non-believers, and how do we, differentiate that in our life? How do we set those boundaries with my non-believing family when it comes to us as a married couple, and it comes to us with our kids as well? Just creating those boundaries with still being respectful of one another, but standing true to our Islam.
Yeah, I agree to Zainab. Sometimes it's hard to define those boundaries with non-Muslims, especially in relatives.
I would just add that there is a distinction between a Muslim country, in my opinion, and an Islamic country, and it's important just to point that out. It's a distinction because in some Muslim countries, as the sister just articulated, that they'll celebrate certain non-Muslim holidays in a Muslim country, right? In an Islamic country, they wouldn't do that. So certain regulations are in place for your religion in an Islamic country.
I can't answer that question with regards to being in a Muslim country because I've only lived here in the United States, but just based on my studies, what I'm learning, so that's why I can't answer that.
I think the biggest challenge more than the married couple is raising the children. And Allah help you, and this is the jihad of the life of the married couple, is to raise those children. In almost, as you say, now in overseas or here, but that's really the jihad that every married couple is facing. Even it sort of makes being a married couple very easy compared to a lot of the disruption in the family can come because of what to do about the kids, how to solve those problems. What's the best outcome you can get. So having I lived in Saudi Arabia for 12 years, and I've lived off and on in Egypt. I think the only thing about, and really the biggest Santa I ever saw was in front of the Sonesta in Cairo. It was a blow-up Santa that was almost as tall as a building. So, and I remember the first time that we were in Marital, I think, in Egypt, and having come to Islam when we don't have idols or anything, and then I found these little red, they looked like little devils because they were red sugar dolls that were made for the kids for the Marital. And I said, but these are all little devil idols that are all red. Why are they giving those to the kids? So it's, there's a lot of cultural things overseas, and maybe less, people doubt you less, like they know why you're doing what you're doing. Like if I'm in Egypt or I'm in Saudi Arabia and I do something for Islam, they know why I'm doing it. But here, we've all probably been praying somewhere in public and they go, oh, did you lose something? There's Dallas Warnsky had a good song about that you go and hit the changing rooms and hit the floor, go and pray in the changing rooms in stores. And I thought, oh, I never thought of that one. But there's a lot less questions overseas, but certainly the challenges are very much equal.
Well, really, if the couple are Muslims and are committed to Islam and like Islamic practices, they can make their home like an Islamic environment. So inside the home there will not be problems as long as they are living in a non-Muslim country. The real problem is outside the doors of your home. When you go out and find people with different habits, different culture, different practices, things are Islamic, acceptable, and some things are not acceptable Islamically. But of course, if you have children and they go outside your home, it's a challenge how to protect them from the effects of the community and society outside. I came to the United States in 1974. At this time, there were no Muslim schools in any place. Only maybe Muslim, some masjids and Muslim villages with apartments rented to just to do prayers in them. And of course, my children had to go to the public school. Public school is really the worst thing a child can go to, really. No matter what it is, sophisticated or beautiful or have facilities or something, this is a very bad environment for the children. They see in the school the children drugs and they see smoking cigarettes, they see alcoholic disease, so many things that are really very bad besides the other behavior of the children in terms of lying and cheating and doing things like that and killing that happened in this school. So really it was a challenge just to try to educate the children with the best possible way so that they will know about Islam and our way of life and how we have some values different than the other values, and it is not easy to do. Nowadays it's much easier because there are Islamic schools. The Islamic school, no matter what, the Islamic school is small or have little facilities or very not a sophisticated school. It is an environment for the child to see the teacher and the ladies and his mother and they speak the language. Salutations are Assalamu alaikum. See posters on the walls instead of seeing something that is taking away from Islam. You'll find a child praying Kaaba, some hadith, something that these things really they have a lot of impact on the child. You don't feel it, you don't know it, but it is really to make the child feel that he belongs to a community, that he belongs to a religion, and he lives here at home, in an Islamic environment, and goes to school another 8 hours in an Islamic environment. So really it will be a very good protection for the children. So my advice really for the parents who have children to take them from public schools and put them in the Islamic schools. Don't say the Islamic school doesn't have facilities. Don't say that they don't have certified teachers. Don't say this and this. Inshallah, with the way they are raised in the Islamic schools, will give them confidence in their deen, will make them feel that they are not strangers and they are really, this is the right place for them to be. This affects them a lot of psychologically. When the child feels in the public school that he is outcasted and being ridiculed and see things that are different from he sees at home, he will feel that feeling of inferiority, and his psychology will be really bad, and when he grows up will have this kind of unstable Muslim character. He may be a Muslim, may be praying, may be doing things, but he doesn't have confidence in Islam as a way of life. So this is what I say as an educator, that if you have children in public schools, please take them and put them in Islamic school. And this will be for their future and it give you a peace of mind also. That's a lot.
So this is going to be a good stopping point. We've got Asr coming up. We pray Asr here, as mentioned, about an hour after what we would be maybe right after that. So we'll stop for prayer, prepare for that, and then we'll have just a short time for some light refreshments and then resume, inshallah.
stop this video, we can stop it and then we'll restart when we come back, okay?
And just to add a little more meat to it, like, despite there may be some lack of communication or discord, it's still an appropriate time just to seek counseling.
Okay, so the question was, at what point is it an appropriate time to seek counseling if there's discord in the marriage?
Yes, and also during the engagement period prior to.
Good point. And during the engagement period, is there an appropriate time? And what would you recommend for counseling? And for this one, for this part of the Q&A part, I think instead of going down the entire line, we'll let people just kind of take on the answers whoever they want. So it's not saying that you raised your hand first. And as a person who asked the question, if you have a specific question for someone in the panel, please feel free to direct that to whoever you'd like to also.
I personally feel like any time is the appropriate time. If you're feeling any distress or disconnect in your marriage and you think that you need help, then let's seek help. I will say I advise not to share your business like with everyone because if you're having, say, tension in your relationship and you share that with, say, your friends and families, you and your partner might get over that difficulty, but that friend or family member is going to remember how your spouse was in that difficulty. So try your best to seek out to maybe one or two very trusted people that you have. And I think honestly any time is appropriate. If you need help, you need help, and that's okay. Even if, it's something that may just be rough at the moment and you know you'll get through it, inshallah, it's still okay to seek,
That's okay. That's fine. That's good.
I did.
Anyone else have anything to ask about?
Or like, I think whenever you feel like you are not able to, like resolve an argument with your partner, like you guys are not able to come to a conclusion, and it causes you like stress or something. I think that is the time where you need the third party to kind of like intervene.
Especially if it's like a repeated argument or a repeated problem.
No, he's wanting to know before you get married, if there's problems within the engagement.
Okay.
Seek counseling.
I'm personally not going to answer that because, me personally, if I'm having, depending on the problems, I think it is situational. But other than that, I'm not exactly, I guess I'd have to have more context of exactly what the problems are.
Yeah, a lot of churches and even some of the bigger mosques, I don't know about Indianapolis, but they actually have classes or counseling for people who are considering marriage. And because there's so many different facets. We're not, we're not sort of, I was gonna say we're not out dating people, but at the same time, a lot of dating people end up getting divorced too. So, I think it's very appropriate to be in counseling or kind of like pre-marriage consultation before considering marriage with someone, and then after marriage. If you're continually having some problems, even if it's not the same problem, maybe what you need help with is how to resolve problems and conflict resolution, kind of. Like, how can this couple go forward solving problems, whatever the problem may be. So I think it differs a little bit if it's pre-marriage or post-marriage, but how to resolve problems certainly would not differ between one and the other. And it's probably our job in the city, as far as masjids, to make sure that people and couples have pre-marriage counseling. And just show, like things we're mentioning today, and maybe many more things, could go through a list of different things that would help the couple to realize, what might come up in the future.
Well, and I think it's important too that if you're having troubles during the engagement period, not to think that getting married is going to be a solution to the problems. So, there's so many people who are married couples who are having troubles in the marriage, and they're like, we'll go ahead and have kids. That'll pull us together. That'll make things better. And then, it just it's a slippery slope. It becomes a snowball. So it's better if you feel that there's issues or problems, try to nip it in the bud before thinking that the next step is going to help be a cure or a solution to something that's already happening. Because you don't want to go ahead and make any further steps and then put yourself through any heartache or problems and vice versa with, the partner as well. Or, get married and then, then children do happen and then it's just, it's better to go ahead and take care of it as soon as possible. So, and I would also say too, if it's something that you suggest to go ahead and try to get couples counseling or some sort of guidance, even if you go to the masjid and have a mom sit down with you, if your partner is not open to that, that should be kind of a red flag too. It should be something that both of you want to go ahead and work on and realize that it's to better both of you and your relationship. So if someone is saying, no, I don't think we need that. I don't think we can go ahead and work out on our own. Sometimes I take that as a red flag.
I don't have a lot to add to what has already been said because when I think about Islam and then we're talking about marriage, what's so beautiful, among the beautiful things about our real life, because it's also beautiful, again, it's a foundation. Your niyah, is there Wally? I was fortunate, so it's beautiful because not all of our stories are the same. Not all of us came to Islam the same way. Not all of us was born into the religion, into this way of life. So I was blessed to have a husband who, again, was my teacher, and he taught me things. I had those questions, and I had questions. There was things that I said, like, oh, well, you all can, and he laughed. So I'll give an example. One of the first things I said was like, oh, you all can have more than one wife. And he was like, ha, and I was like, nothing, but the beautiful thing about the way my husband has taught me, and he continues to teach me, and that goes to that level of respect that we have for one another, is that his teaching, he's very graceful in the way he teaches. Because he didn't come back with just a smart retort. He said, there is wisdom in it. And so I'm like, okay, but I'm going to go see the answers for myself. So of course, I went to get a Quran, and before I could go buy one, he gave me one. And I'm telling you, the first thing I wanted to do is go to that section that talk about those wives, because I want to know, I want to read about it, right? So again, your niyah, but he also told me about having a wali. I love the fact that my husband, the way he gave it to me is there really is no room for dating in Islam. We don't date in Islam, we get married. And then he broke that down, what that looks like, and the importance of having it protected, because for him, he wanted our union to be protected from the beginning. So the things that I like to give to the sisters, new sisters coming in, or any sister, is really get an understanding for yourself, and ask those questions. So you have those concerns, definitely there is never, let's just wait. Go seek those answers out. And I love the way the sister, someone pointed that out. Be careful even when you tell. Even before I came to Islam, that's something I learned. You be careful what you share with your family, because at the end of the day, we can kiss and make up. They're not kissing and making up. They're going to be upset, so be very careful what you share. But always seek out what's going to help you, because as the brother stated, which was another beautiful teaching of my husband for me that I read about him, we are each other's covering. We cover one another. So if there's things that you cannot come to a conclusion on before you get married, again, it's not going to go away. Those are some red flags. And you might want to ask yourself, are you going about this the right way?
was gonna ask, how did you meet?
Our families knew each other.
Abdullah and I was born and raised in Seattle. And ISNA way back then, in 1979, 1980, there was a sister establishing the Women's Committee and looking for representatives around the country. So she had come met me and I was starting to take that role. So when she went back to the headquarters here, she knew my husband, she knew Abdullah, and they suggested that we were both looking to get married, so they put us in contact. That's pre-internet. So the beautiful thing about that is I still have all the letters we wrote, because I said we don't need to really meet each other to know a lot about each other, to make it, because in Islam we don't want to get emotionally entangled before we know the person is right for us. So there's a lot you could know about each other, even just through letters. What's your goals, what's the future, how do you envision your life, what's important to you, and it's probably better that it's a little distant from your emotions. And then we started talking on the phone when we found everything okay. And after the phone, then he said, I'm gonna come out, we're gonna meet on a Friday, and then if there's no rejection at that point, we'll go ahead and marry. So we married that weekend, so. Because he was a long way away, Indianapolis.
Me and Mosem are New Age, so we did meet on the internet. We met through an app called Muzzmatch, which is kind of like, it's halal courtship, that's the best way I can explain it. But, which is funny actually, because I was living in Memphis, Tennessee at the time, and I had set my radius to no more than 30 miles. Mosem was in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't know how he broke through the barrier, but he did, because I was actually about to delete that because I was fed up with the people on there. Their intentions were not pure. There you go. So he broke through the barrier, and we talked for a few months and discussed pretty much all the major things that we had that we were looking for in a spouse. Checked all that off, and then he took the 7-hour trip after working all day on Friday to come to see my hometown of Covington, Tennessee. Got a little taste of the southern life, and hit it off, and we're like, okay, we're gonna get married, inshallah. He came another time about a month or so after. Met with my family both times, and then I was like, okay, I'll probably be moving to Indianapolis. So I actually came out here for a week. I had been here before, but that was prior to being a Muslim, so I wanted to experience what India was like as a Muslim. And we got married, 2 months after that? That was in December. Yep, 2 months after. Okay, we were good.
Well, I'll comment a little on there's some glitches in systems sometimes.
He works in tech, so I'm suspicious.
Well, we met not too far from here, University of Indianapolis. We were both students. So I think she was studying international business and I was just studying business administration. So I think she was studying something about Kashmir and studying about Islam, and I gave her a Quran one time and she studied. One time she came out of the blue, she proposed me. Like the Khadija had proposed Prophet Muhammad, so that reminds me of that. But she proposed me the way she proposed me. She said, I want to marry you, I want to become a Muslim. I said, whoa, hold on. Getting married, yes, it's just for your life, right? Becoming a Muslim is much bigger. So, have you studied it? Yeah, I read the Quran. I said, just give yourself some more time. Because today we are alive, tomorrow we are not. Islam is going to stay with you, not just this life, but hereafter. It's not a life, marriage is a lifetime commitment. But becoming a Muslim is forever, infinite, and beyond. So, then a week later, she came back again. She said, are you ready? It's Friday. We're going to go to the mosque. So become Muslim. So I said, okay, I cannot stop. Somebody's telling me they're going to become Muslim. that's something between you and Allah. So she went to Masjid al-Fajr, Imam Umar Khattab, actually he, he did shahada to her, and then biggest struggle was going through my parents or her parents. So my parents, I could talk to him freely, so I ended up writing a letter to my dad, and he said, okay, if she already accepted Islam, go ahead and do nikah, and when you come back, we'll have a celebration. So, alhamdulillah, it has been a good journey.
It's a very simple story, but yeah. I did study for 2 years before I converted. It wasn't a matter of, and then the first time you asked your dad if you could marry me, he said no. So we did go through a process, but
Details.
I know, just minor details, but hey, after 32 years, I guess we can't argue that too much about it.
Yes. One dowry. These are the things that I expected him, correct? Things I expected him, the things that I want to see in my husband. Explain to me exactly what a dowry is and what it consists of.
So to repeat the question, she's asking about the mahar. Yes, she wants to know what is the definition of the dowry?
Well, the mahar is some requirements of the marriage. Of course, the marriage to be conducted, they have to be the two people who are married to each other, and there is ard and qabul, and their offer and acceptance in front of the group, the people. And this is number one. Number two, there should be a mahar paid by the man to the lady who is married. You say, can be in any form, like it can be money, it can be a good gift, it can be a real estate, it can be a car, it can be a ring, anything that they, both of them approve of, and that reflects their status. It won't be like good for a rich person to offer a ring only, or to offer a book or something like this. It has to, the mahar reflects to what extent you value this person and how much you can pay just to have this marriage complete. And of course, there is also the wali. There has to be a wali for the lady that will represent their side and protects her rights and stuff like this. And should be witnesses, two witness the marriage. And of course it will be a common-sized kind of event. Of course the mahar can be anything from the most exciting things to something that's very little according to the ability of the groom to offer to his wife. And it should be presented during during the writing of the contract. And the bride should approve. She said, I received this and I am happy with it. She should not be forced to get married to somebody that she did not accept this gift or something like that. Of course, the mahar can be, if the person wants to offer something like maybe $10,000, and he doesn't have except $5,000. So he said, I can pay $5,000 now, and $5,000 be deferred. I can pay it later on, any time when I afford to do this, or when there is a need to pay. So this is the right of the bride to get, and it is her property. Nobody can take it from her, but her father or somebody else cannot take this gift from her, money or anything else. So this is will be the ownership of the wife, and her financial status should be independent completely from her husband. And her husband is a person who is responsible for every essential expenses in the marriage, like food, housing, and clothing, and the medical service. Everything is the responsibility of the husband in the family, and she she does not have, she is not obliged to do anything unless she does it with her own will and volition to offer anything to the family. So that's the situation of the mahar and the relation between man and woman after marriage.
So the word mahar is dowry. In English, dowry, in Arabic, it's mahar.
It's also called sabah. Sabah or mahar in Arabic. Dowry in English.
Okay.
So my question is, if you have two different styles of like dealing with the problem. So for me, I'm like, I want to talk until we figure it out. And I want to know, we're going to sit here for 5 hours, if we have to do more than that, no problem. We're going to get it discussed. Whereas like, you know, somebody else's way of handling it, somebody else's, maybe, to be like, okay, and just like, you know, they don't want to rehash, like they don't want to talk about it maybe. So how can I, because it seems like kind of, you know, like kind of just let it go. So how can we come to where everybody feels like, he doesn't feel like I'm just nagging him into the ground, but I also feel like I got it, like I can move on with our day and not just be like, he did this, you know, like how can we work on that? Saying, you could have texted me to say
I'll give you the summary later. Basically, because we have the same issue. I'm like, if we have a conflict, I want to talk about it right then and there. I want to get it all out. A lot of it for me, I think, is reacting based off of my emotions and feelings. So that's something that I have to work a lot on in our marriage, is just taking that time and allowing him to process, because his way of processing things are very different than my way of processing things. I want to get it all out. So my recommendation is to maybe write down, you know, what you're feeling in your emotions. That way you're having some way of getting it out, but you're not overwhelming or overbearing him, so he can also take his time to process and analyze and not say something like in the heat of the moment, you know?
Does the other side perspective? Yeah, I was gonna say, I want some men to answer as well, like tell me what to do here.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like, I'm kind of person that don't process things at the spot. I take time, so usually what happens is if we have some sort of argument that's going on, she will mention it and then I'll think about it, take some time, and then we can come back to that topic when we both have it better instead of just saying things like upfront. So I think that really helps to kind of come to conclusion.
We learned one more thing actually today. Check to make sure your spouse is not hungry or tired. I know that sounds really silly, but it's actually really valid, because if someone's hungry and like they're angry, it amplifies that anger. Or if they're tired, so just check in and be like, hey, are you tired or hungry? Like, are you really this upset, or is there something else added to that problem? Mosum was hungry today, by the way. And car sick. My driving was crazy today.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Arguments, disagreements is going to occur. Male perspective, it's a lot of times it's different than a female perspective. How we resolve issues as men, being raised, depending on the environment you were raised in, is how you resolve conflict. And so the main thing that I would say is that before you end the night, no matter what happens, before you end the night, we have an agreement that I'll always tell you that I love you. And that's the main thing. So no matter how this is going to go, we're going to go, she's going to have an opinion that it's going to go this way, it's going to go that way. But at the end of the day, we have to meet up somewhere. So we both have this clock in our head that this is going to end with I love you.
I love the fact that my husband always says that We don't have arguments, we don't have fights, we have discussions. I can sit here in transparency and say to you that my husband comes around a lot faster than I do. Not that I'm so, but I love the way he understands that women are more emotional creatures than men are, and he makes it easier for me because no one likes rejection in any shape, form, or fashion, but again, having that foundation of having something to come back to and having that understanding that we never go to bed without saying that I love you.
Well, when there is a problem between the husband and wife, it's better to solve it as soon as possible. And one wise man said that something that you don't go to sleep at night without solving the problem. Talking about it, try to find a way out of this problem. There's something, and really, when there's something that is too much to solve by yourself, it's better. The ideal situation is to go to a Muslim counselor. A non-Muslim counselor usually can give you solutions that don't go to Islam. For example, you can tell the husband, why don't you go out dating? Maybe, or something like this. So you have to go to a Muslim counselor. If there is no Muslim counselor, okay, there will be somebody that you trust, you know his morals, his characters, he's a wise person, and just ask him and just to try to discuss the problem with you, and maybe you'll guide you to some kind of solution. That don't let anything go, because the shaitan likes to see problems between husband and wife. And as the time goes, as the shaitan will get you some kind of things to make it worse and worse and worse. So the best thing is to solve the problem as soon as possible. And if there's no Muslim counselor, as I said, we go. And the Quran said, نبعث أحد من أهله وحكم من أهلها إن يريد إصلاحا يوفق الله بينهم. They will send one man from her family, if it is a Muslim family, and one man from her family, and sit together and discuss it. And this, Allah said, if you read the Islam, you really have the intention to solve the problem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will solve it. Allah will solve it through this kind of situation. Because we don't have Muslim families usually for both parties of the family, both sides. Maybe the solution would be like a knowledgeable person who knows about Sharia, about Islam, about Deen, and ask them, and he will guide you to something that really will be good for you.
Just one little point. I think, a few words can go a long ways. So, and I know from my own experience, men do not like to talk to women, like to talk about everything. Like it's like, oh, still going at it. So, but the thing is, what would let him off the hook, or let me off the hook easier, because sometimes I feel like he's not hearing me or not understanding what I'm saying, so I keep saying it and saying it and saying it, right? So, and then he's like, you told me a million times. So, if the other partner would say, I hear you, I understand you, but can we talk about it later? Just a few words might just at least I hear you. You're heard, you're understood. Okay? I got your point.
I like that, what you said. I just want to say one other quick thing. The other thing as well is remember that in your marriage, this is a partnership, so you're a team. And so it's going to help both of you to learn each other's style, what works, because sometimes you're not always gonna, it's not about winning in that moment, like, oh, this is a win for me. look at it as a win for the team, because as a team, we take wins and we take losses together. So over time, years will get you there. You don't get to 17 years without understanding that, because you know what it takes to push the other person's button. And hopefully, with that foundation in place, with that mutual respect for one another, and coming back to Islam again, over time, you get to know your partner, you get to know your spouse, and they get to know you. And you know sometime in that moment, now is not that time. Sometime we just have to fall back and just wait, and then wait as we put that in the coolness of in the coolness spirit. So get to learn one another and don't get your enemies together. Because when you get away from we're in this together, then you're inviting in those problems.
We are at the end of our schedule. We have at least one more question. Do you mind taking one more question? Lola, did you have another one? What is?
Okay. How about people that are 50 and up, who are now practicing Islam, been practicing Islam 5, 6, 7 years? When a brother is interested in you, okay, is he supposed to come directly to me, or is he supposed to speak to someone else and say, I'm interested in Sister Zola? What's the proper channel for that?
So to repeat the question is, when someone, and I think especially if you're a younger person, you may not travel with another family member, yeah, so if you are at an older age for marriage, and someone, a brother might be interested in like a woman who doesn't have many people, should he go directly to her to express his interest, or should he find someone else to convey that to her?
I'm not 50 plus, but I do have one piece of advice for you. If you can, inshallah, go to a trusted imam that you know, and ask him to be your wali, or like a trusted brother in the community to be your wali, because that is going to be a really good source of protection for you. Because I didn't have a wali because my family's not Muslim, and so I asked the imam at Mishal to become my wali. So I have a wali now, and that I do suggest, inshallah, if you're able to, sister, find one so that you do have that source of protection for you.
I think that's a perfect advice, because as a board member of this masjid, I have sisters who approach me and say, hey, there's a brother who is interested in me, can you be my wali? And I think it's, that responsibility becomes me, or I can refer to the imam or some other brother, because it's always helpful that there is somebody who is backing you up, because as a community members, we are looking for our family member, as a family member, a young person. So in that regard, we will talk to the brother, we will sit down and talk and maybe get some information, what he does and what not, and try to get the bottom of it, if he's really genuine. So I think it's very important that, especially if you don't have any Muslim family or friends, or somebody who can be a supporter of you, so it's very important that you contact your local masjid, imam, or any brothers you know, so that they can help you out in that regard, inshallah.
And don't worry about that process of telling someone who's interested to go and ask, talk with someone from the masjid that you've appointed. That person will be able to ask questions of them that you would probably feel too shy to ask. But they can ask them what you want to know. Your wali will know. You tell them, I want to know this and this. And the other thing is, like, sometimes we feel afraid, like, well, maybe he'll get discouraged and go away. Like, if you always go back to the story of, like, Prince Charming. Prince Charming never got defeated by anybody. He rode his horse and just fought all the battles, and we want Prince Charming. We want people who are not scared away by anything, okay? Because they value us, and they're willing to wait for us, they're willing to, that's what we want. And so if they're scared off or put off too easily, we're ready.
Did that help answer your question? Okay, well, this is the end of our session for today. So first, I'd like to thank the panelists for taking the time to come here. Your insights have been so valuable. And I hope that everybody has enjoyed learning a little something today. This was like I said, this was the second part. Inshallah, we'll probably cover marriage again at some other point in some of our meetings. Next month, we are having another panel, and the panel will be discussing raising Muslim children. So if that's something that might be interesting to you, please join us. Our meetings are for anyone, they're geared towards Muslim conference, but they're open for anyone. So please feel free to join us. One last announcement too, we are also having another workshop this month on September 22nd, which is a Sunday from 2:30 to 4:30. And the workshop is directed towards non-Muslims or converts that may have been a convert for quite some time. And it is a workshop that will be partly led and part panel. And it is about how to better help and educate Muslims. And so, again, inshallah, we have a lot of really great things on our plate. So please stay tuned with us. And again, thank you so much.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم تقبل منا أعمالنا واجعلنا أعمالنا خالصا لوجهك الكريم يا رب العالمين اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا معصوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما يا رب العالمين ولا اللهم اجمعنا على الخير ووفقنا الى الخير واهدنا الى الخير اللهم بارك لنا في اولادنا وفي اسرنا may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our families and our children, protect them from the evils of the outside communities forces. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us guidance and help us inshallah to follow the teachings of Islam and the commands of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gather us on good all the time and make our gatherings for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.